Yes, welcome back. Peace and blessings. This is alignment time, and before we get started, I'm going to play some of my music, support the cause, get us in the mood. This song I'm about to play, it's like we're get into this Corpus Hermetica. It's a deep meaning, just the word alone. But in it now, it's like a world inside of a world, the invisible world, the world of the mind. That's where, when we talk in Corpus Hermetica, is. So, being that we're going to get into the world of the mind, we're going to get this energy going. So, I'm going to play one of my joints that I did, and in it, if you hear the words, it's when I was going through my initiation through the higher world, meeting the angelic light. Peace, Cam. Peace and blessings, brother. Thanks for tuning in. Um, we get to understand that there's another side, and that's the journey I have went on that encouraged me and motivate me to hit these topics that I pick, because it's not just the importance of us understanding what the hermetic science is, but it actually teaches you about yourself. Because when we get into the hermetic science now, you're getting in prior to our creation story, prior to everybody that was here. These is old records that was kept that tell you more about yourself and actually what you're doing. And they kept it and preserved it from in Egypt to our modern time, where it's broken up into from Sanskrit to our modern day Bible. So when you learn it in the Hermetic version, it's like learning it in the Atlantean way, how the Atlanteans see it, because Thoth is behind the Hermetic thing, which is the same thing, and he really resided at the Atlantis time till Atlantis was sinking. So that's where we're gonna pick up. But let me play this track to get it going. But you can listen to the words what I'm saying.
Back to the
It's called Back
future.
to the Future.
Back to the future, 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 back to the future.
Can you give back what you take? Or are you the snake that suffered from your own mistake? You move the mountains, but you cause the earth to quake. You breathe the fire, but you also cause tidal waves. You're your own karma, servant and slave. You work for hire, hoping one day to retire. You quit your God, now you sold your fire. I tell you the truth when you call me a liar. Your ego is blameless and shameless. Bloody hands always look stainless. Some of us is the devil in red dress. Selling out our soul for success. You look like you're going somewhere, but your soul will never progress. You could have done more by doing less. Nowadays I hear bleeps and flatline. The sounds of fax machine, America's online. It's through the ear they're programming our mind. This is premeditated, it's the grand design. That's because deep down inside, where our ego hide, all humans need desires is to shine. My demons was my tutor, they took me back to the future. They ascended past Buddha with ganja in my mouth. Down the Ganges River with Jesus headed south. The great Jack and piggyback in the paddy where I can fly like Aladdin.
Peace and blessings.
Past
All is well. We make it well.
Style,
Even if
first
it's not.
game shooter.
Thank you for tuning in.
Sitting on the throne. I watch the prodigal son come home with doves all around. Dragons in the background, the hat man in the dark. Anubis was way in the heart. The war of art is love. Unity ruined my ego in me. It took me on a journey back to being, back to seeing. Twice born, I got rid of believing for reason. The meek inherit the earth, and they was possessed by the government and the church. The gods held me at their grip. There was nothing I could do to help. I dropped to my knees and wept as the God said, save yourself.
That's what this is about, knowing yourself. Once you know yourself, you get to understand. Now, this is my little time in the underworld right here. I record it, it's on music. So this is my journey in the underworld.
A star was born and it ascended on my lawn. A blue flame orb with the appearance of a warrior who was a lord. He said he worked for God. The fact I saw him and he saw me, I was soul to soul, me and my eye. He wanted to take me on a ride, but I told him I couldn't fly. He said close your eyes. He said he was a Cyrus master. We're gonna body double and go into astral. The first place was the underworld where men's are girls, beings are hermaphrodites. The guys down there like to argue and fight. They sleep all day and party all night. There's no loyalty, but they're God's chosen purple royalty. They test the desires of men and turn you against you, you and your family, and also you against your friends. Their purpose is to deprogram you from your mental implants so that human beings can evolve and advance. These are the mysteries. The Joker juggled them like ancient history. Isis is unveiled while the dragon whips her tail, sliding down the emerald tablet of Thor, a raider up the lost ark, recovering souls that's lost. Life is like the four horsemen on one horse. This one horse is the one source of why the Christians wear the cross. When you go and you invert and come out in a parallel, where no man dare to speak about, so they speak in parables. This is where Osiris raised the dead and sitters as a crown on your head. Majority of society lived the blue pill. These chosen chose the red. This is poetic book of the dead for the walking dead who choose to walk upright, who can't sleep at night. With their demons they fight. They're all light workers, future healers, Mr. Revealers, and seven sealers. One love.
Alright, that's what's up. And that's what this is about when we're talking about Corpus Hermetica. You know, that tune is actually the whole journey through the dragon. And we're going to just read from Corpus Hermetica as I explain everything, because it hasn't been interpreted in a way. Everybody's looking at it wrong. And you are it. And once you realize that you're it makes you zigzagzilla, you know what I'm saying? I'm putting together some tunes. I got some tunes just, here working with the people here on the islands. I get to bring back what I used to do. I used to be signed with Bad Boys and all that, producing and all that, John Tupac era. So, I was running with them. So as a producer, I do my own beats and I write my own raps and everything and all that. So to them that bring this all back, because I am in ascension and headed on a different place. But sometimes we have to leave our own to go back and help people. It's like you see yourself back again and you take time out to make sure they don't make the same mistakes you made. And so if you could do anything to enhance the situation, it's always good to do it. Sometimes it even means stepping out of your own comfort zone. And so once we're able to do that, we learn ourselves, because here I am as a older now elder teaching the young how to rap. That is, they don't have that type of rhythm we have. So it's like teaching them a new frequency or rhythm. But at the same time, I'm learning their style too now, which is now teaching me. So it's like a give and take here. So that's just really how it works. Now, let's get to this Corpus Hermeticus real quick. Just the name alone is telling you, Corpus is really your body, the dead body, in Latin. And we talking Hermetic. When we talking Hermetic, it got so many deep parts to it, because it's Ham is involved, the Hermetics. And this is the generations prior to the flood that actually was in Syria, those parts of the world. And actually they had the true knowledge, the wisdom of Nimrod. You see, Nimrod was actually the first part of the teacher that became Zoroastrian. It's like different parts of our, what we believe as culture and religious society was taken from many different other cultures and put into one doctrine. So there's a doctrine from the Persians or the Zoroastrians where they had a duality between good and bad, a light and a dark. That came into being in our philosophy after we read about that from theirs. It wasn't actually in the beginning that there was a light and dark. That came in from later on. So once you understand that different period renders us our whole principle of what we believe in, you get to now take it apart and understand each one. So going back to Hermeticism now, the Hamitic people, or the first gens, was the first preservers of these information, and it was passed on, as you can see, that said from on the emerald tablets to the pillars that Tubal-Cain had saved, and it was preserved in Egypt, and that has the story of Atlantis plus a few of the Hermetic tablets, and there's the emeralds and everything was also there. So we get some of the first translations from it, and we're gonna take it from there, and I'm gonna bring understanding to it as we read from it. Let me unplug that. Sorry about that. All right, now I'm not gonna start from the beginning. I'm gonna take it into it's just a little bit so we get a greater understanding. And basically, I'm using this one so that you could come along and join me if you want to get understanding. We're not going to do all the way reading through, like if I'm Eve reader or something. I'm going to just give you the basics so that you could take the Corpus Hermetica and understand it and use it in a way that it's a tool to help enhance you. So with that in mind, I'm picking up now where he says, this is, O son, the guide in the way that leads, therefore thou must first forsake the body before thy end, and get the victory in the contention and strife for life, and when thou hast overcome, return. So right there is the first line. He tell you, this is, O son, the guide and the way that leads thither, for thou must first forsake the body before thy end. So you see, the body, it still go back to the body. When we talk yoga, we talk in any type of discipline, any type of initiation, any type of astral projection, any type of occult, any type of magic. They don't deal with this body. You're talking other bodies such as the ethereal body, the astral body, the casual body, the intellectual body. These different bodies now is what your consciousness is inhibiting. But it don't inhibit it at any given certain period of time. Most of the time, we don't know where we're at. We're just in our body until somebody say, hey, then you snap in and you're there. Aside from that, you could be anyone. But now, to consciously be into a certain body or sheath for yourself, you have to know where your consciousness stands. And it's different parts to understanding where your consciousness stands. Because you could say, all right, I'm a conscious being. But what does being conscious mean? Conscious of what? Yourself, your environment, you in reference to your environment. So being conscious is more like being in the present moment, at the second. Not drifting off to yesterday, not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. Being conscious is just being in the moment, understanding all the energies at the moment, feeling everything at the moment. And then you're conscious now. Anything else is rendered not being conscious. So anything you want to do, this is where you start to build and understand that our body is the hinderer for us to reach these higher states of consciousness. And you're still in the body, no matter how you look at it. It's not that you're going to get an illusion or a sense of a change. You're going to change, your genetics is going to change, and you will have more activated DNA, and you will have crystallization taking place. But you're not looking for a big drastic change or look unless you really go on this diet and actually go through the alchemy process. So the change is also hidden, which I'm going to get into so you can understand it in more of a hidden codex called the Philosopher's Stone, the elixir. I'll explain that because it comes back around to the same thing. So now, when we understand that the body has something to do with it, and we have to gain the victory over it, then you realize there's contention and strife in this battle for your body and your mind. It's a duality. And this has always been the duality with our government, or you could say society, helping initiate you to take to one side more than the other side. Spirituality is like a curse. It's like out the way. But if you deny your spirituality, you're going to say you see aliens, UFOs. Peace and blessings, Raven. And God bless you. Thank you. We're going to link up. But thank you very much. Now let's keep it going. But now, my son, I will by hands run through the things that are. Understand that what I say, and remember what thou hearest. And it's very important for you to understand these things, because we actually don't take things into detail. And it's the detail that makes it a God thing. And you're a God. Don't look at anything in a superficial way. Don't look for God outside yourself. You're God. You understand? Like your parents made you. You're a reflection of your parents. So now you understand what's going on, Michael Deline. Peace and blessings. All right. So understand to take these words, what I say, and remember what thou hearest is the important parts of paying attention to details, which give you your psychic abilities and make you an empath. Remember, empath can sense energy, first of all, from coming from a person, from positive to negative, to a thought form, to actually what the person don't even know themselves that they're thinking and feeling. An empath could feel it and explain something to them that they're going through that they don't even know that they actually is something they're in denial of. So this is what the deeper side of paying attention to details will bring about, and actually in getting to the details of stuff is denying yourself too many chemical foods that give you blockages, too much overdoing of anything, or eating, too much attention, too much TV, too much sound, too much. You gotta have your senses tuned. So by you having discipline of not too much of, it will actually make your sensitivity go up. But if you're actually just eating this, eating that, where you're getting different biochemistry effects taking place within your body, and you don't feel these chemical changes taking place within yourself, how could you feel different sensations pounding up on you that is telling you things? Because your body are really reflections of and receivers of sound, light. You remember, if you're catching light, light is a vibratory frequency, and it's not really light, it's sound. Because sound, after it gets to a certain frequency, turns to a particular color of light. So you're looking at, when you see light, sound, vibration, it's not light. When you see colors in it, colors is different tones. So you got the 7 chords of the keyboard. If you was to able to see them as actually visual, you will see 7 different colors for each chord. You understand? So you got each vibration. Actually, if you hear, have a color to it. My words have a color to it. If we could have seen the spectrum, so understanding that will make you pay attention to detail and detoxify your body. The easiest way to detoxify your body is actually honey, garlic, and onion. Chop up some onions and some garlic and get a little jar, put some honey about up to there, and put the garlic and honey, and take a spoonful every day. That's antioxidant that detoxify chemicals that actually come out your pores. They come out your pores, but like if you go in the sun and you catch a suntan, you get a burn, you actually toxify. Your body's toxic. You're supposed to be able to stay in the sun all day, burn hot, and don't even turn a little bit lighter. As a matter of fact, you will get lighter instead of darker. When you see darkness, you're roasting because oils and toxicity under the top layers roasting, and it might burn, and it might give you cancer, it might be the radiation that is needed to activate certain DNA codes to make you have that disease. So you got to understand that part of it. So by eating onions, garlic, and the honey mixed up, you putting more antioxidant to defend your body against those things. After a while, when you be in the sun, it won't burn, nothing won't happen. Then you're paying attention to details more because you're getting the stuff that's blocking you from feeling when the vibratory frequencies come and hit your body and hit your pineal. All these are senses. You got chakras, they senses, but you got to clear them off. Sweating is good, so you get the toxicants off. So once you do that, you're on your way to understanding when he says that in detail. Understand that what I say and remember that what I hear is. He said, all things that are moved. That which is not is unmovable. Wow, that's facts. Body made of water, oil, water don't go. Oil comes to the top when you sweat under the sun. Wow, you got it. Exactly. So you want the oil to sweat. They call that oil the crystals. It's a magnetic feeling. It actually make the ancestors connect to you while that oil is coming out. It's there for a purpose. That's why it comes over your skin, not just as it cool you down, but it actually is a magnetic antenna for the electromagnetic spectrum for UV, remember it blocks UV rays. And so it's also in the ultraviolet ray, the indigo ray, and the infrared. So those beings that is in those worlds attaches to you on like an antenna, fiber optic cables, and they repeats everything back that is messed up on you. That's what your energy needs. That's why you sweat, not just to cool you down, but to connect back, because you're looking through water. You remember, water retains memory. Water actually, like one droplet of water, if you used to put your finger in the water and hold it up, has one snowflake in it, one pattern, one, mandala. And so each, now imagine every finger is like a puddle of water. So you're a bunch of snowflakes and crystals that crystallize to form you. So, and actually you connecting with this oil and this mana, these snowflakes get back energized. They come back and connect like fiber optic, and you renew. This also is part of what we call alchemy. I'm gonna get into that a little with the Philosopher's Stone, so you understand it's not a movie like Harry Potter. It's part of the same process. Um, Yes, Zigzag Zilla, and actually, it actually will work. That's why baby oil burns. Yes, baby oil burns. Any type of oil is what messes up your skin texture and complexion. Your skin's supposed to be reflective as you crystallize through sun. Your DNA is activating. You're closing flaps that was open. That, when you look at a baby or a young child, their skin is mad smooth because their flip is closed. As you get more mature and understanding come perception open, your skin crystallize, and with it crystallizing, you get a dodecahedron type pattern per um, octagon shape that you see on your skin. And so with each octagon shape now hitting different 45-degree angles of light, that's where you get your downloads information, because we understand that light is sound, vibration, and color. It's a 3 point thing that makes it fractal. You understand? So being that it's fractal, it's like you're in something that you need three parts to you to understand it in one part. It's one, say it was a circle with a green dot, but for you to perceive it, you can't just perceive it as a color. You perceiving it as a sound, and you're perceiving it as also a vibration too. All of them at the same second. So that's why your brain or mind see in hologram. That's the term come from, because you're actually seeing fractals. It's not like you're seeing what is in front of you. Remember, it's just vibration. And so when you get this type of meaning, you don't take everything you see literal. You will seek out the vibratory frequency of it and what is it saying to you, because a lot of people is deceptive, and you want to be able to sense deception. That's how a God works, because it's the same like the wisdom of Solomon, that both of them saying it's their baby. But which one was it? When Solomon was going to kill the baby, his senses now went off, and he see the one who cared about the child and said, no, give it to her. That's the one. That's the mother over there. She cared about the life of the child. So you got to be able to tune to these senses and not just be analytical, and also very, you know, what you say, just you always thinking that something is going to happen. Take those thoughts out your head, because what will happen is what you think. The universe only reflect back what you want. So that's why they give you these red flag, green flag. Your neighbors get a gun. We make these realities by what our thought is. Change that. You got to be the good and all of the bad, regardless of what's going on. And I'm not saying anybody can't do nothing to you unless you allow it. It's like a dog can only bite you if it sense fear. But you don't have to use one method to just get out situation, which is fear. Fear begets fear. Do nothing and fear go by you like your thoughts. Let me tell you now, let's keep it going. All things that are moved, only that which is not is unmovable. Understand, once you understand that, it's saying, know thyself, know your limitations. If you see something you can't do, then let somebody else do it. But it's still you getting it done. But knowing your limitations, get the job done. Not you having ego problem or feel insignificant about yourself, because you can do it. So know thyself is to know your limitations. So what's movable and what's immovable, must know these things. This is how the universe works. So he says, for everybody is changeable, not everybody is dissolvable. Some bodies are dissolvable. Every living thing is not mortal. So now I'm going to read that to you so you make understanding. It says, everybody is changeable. Not everybody is dissolvable. So it goes to show you that everybody's not the same here. There's people who could change. There's people who can't change, and there's people who could actually go through alchemy. Dissolvable means you're going to change yourself permanently from an evolution in yourself to a higher, twice born. So now he's saying every body is changeable. Everybody is dissolvable. Some bodies are dissolvable. Every living thing is not mortal, but every living thing is immortal. So you got two choices here. You got a choice to live in a body which is mortal, or you got the spiritual life which is immortal. But it's your decision, because your consciousness could go with the physical and think it's the body, this material world, its desires. Whatever its desires is gonna lock it into that. But if you have spiritual, these things now will take you into higher lessons and higher self of yourself. And that's what it's saying. That becomes immortal, because the consciousness leaves everything and disassociates from it at a certain point when it's time to transfer and go back up to angelic life. Because you come here as an angel, if you didn't know, let me be the first to tell you. There's no kidding, no playing. It's not a biblical thing. It's the journey you have to take. I'm seeing it. I'm in it. And I bring it back to you, iterating on it because of the fact that I see it. So now it says that which may be dissolved is also corruptible. That which abides always and unchangeable. That which is unchangeable is eternal. So you got to realize it's saying in yourself, you're corruptible because you're dissolvable, you're changeable. Being that you're changeable, you're corruptible until your change come for it to be dissolved and a whole new you come that won't change. That's in the Philosopher's Stone when the lead turned to gold. So you have to learn that the corruptible is being honest with yourself. Nobody is perfect. The new you is actually learning your limitations and then living within it. That now make you have to go through the process of alchemy to be dissolvable, because you are accept your limitation, which was your demons, something you wearing a mask pretending to be when you wasn't really that. But once you know who you really are, you see you emanate an energy through your heart chakra, through your pineal ground, and through your throat chakra, because these now start speaking up truth, honesty. These was the blockage right here. Once you do that, this throat chakra is connected to the second chakra, your sacral, your abs. Your abs got is the sense of control thing. That's what give you want to control everything. Truth must always remember. That's right. The connection was breaking up for me. Okay. Now, when your throat chakra is blocked, you're gonna always have a sense of control. You always want to be a pleaser to people. You always want to know what's gonna happen. These actually, because you're holding it as a sense of control and you watching what you say, you actually create a situation where you can't will nothing. And because say these were subatomic particles, and if you wanted to send it out into the universe to get your desires, whatever you're doing, you're holding it by constraining your control, by wanting to know what's going to happen next. You're holding it. It's supposed to just be put out into the universe and thrown out my hands. So they are spirits. Each subatomic particle is a spirit that is actively working back and forth for other spirits to make things happen for you. This is their job. And so by you watching it and observing it, it stops and it's not going to do its job. It's just going to stay right where it's at. So that's when you have that sense of control. A lot of things go your way, but at the same time, it comes with a side effect. And that's the problem. The side effect become a dark side inside of us. Peace and love, Alex Croft. And this becomes the demon, the ego, the splits in yourself. And that becomes now something we neglect, and we become something else as we mature. You ever notice you start off as a child seeing spirits, orbs, or you just good with everybody. You don't judge nothing. If you could be white, black, gay, this, it doesn't matter. You're chilling. But as you get older, you seem to be more judgmental. Experiences change you. Like, it's like they say you want to experience love and know what love is, right? You can't just go research it on the internet. You can't just go read books on it. That's gonna not make you know what love is. But if you want to experience love, you go and fall in love. When you fall in love, you experience what love is. But with experiencing love, you're not the same person that you was before you fell in love. You change yourself. It's a biochemistry change you'll never be able to reverse. So it's like you go through an evolution or devolution, regardless, but it's a change that you cannot do. That's what experiences do to a person. Any experience you encounter give you a change. That's why if we get older, we not the same little child that we was. So when you understand that, you will see how like certain cultures, religions, they deny themselves from certain experience. No, 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 I don't want to see that. No, no, I want to partake in that. Because they know that will bring about a certain change within them, a biochemistry change. So they deny themselves experiences. Just like our regular society, we deny our own evolution by just going to work, coming home, picking the kids up from school. There's no experience in that. And so if you don't have experience, you don't get these biochemistry changes that actually creates what experience really is, which is to make you evolve from, like I said, if you wanted to feel what love is, you're going to have to experience it till it breaks you and you don't have no more. But when you come out of it, you're not the first you no more either. You change while you're in love. Then you're going to change when you get out of love again to be something that wasn't that first person. You understand? So it's the trick is to get back to be the first person you was. And so that's where you see the adult mind get kind of corrupted and the child still see. So it become egos inside of us. The child still remain as an adult, but it now become a promiscuous person. The one that's playful to get ways. You play with your boy, you play with the girl and at least the sex. All that is the programmer for any adult, any parent. You understand that when you act childish, you get your way, you whine, you get the programmer, the child. Remember that. That's the God in you still. We lose ourselves either a bitter person or more not trusting. The problem with that, it leads to some talk in your head. This is talking in your head. So you're listening to demons now, and on the cause of suspicion, not knowing, but suspicion just haunt you. It doesn't actually do anything to change the experience you're facing, but you open your portal to not being yourself. So this suspicion we're talking about comes from prior hurt, prior times that you saying this experience led to this, so I can't experience this no more. By you doing that, maybe the experience you went into, you approached it wrong. And it wasn't the experience, the answer, the thing that actually was the problem that made you now want to put up a wall. You maybe if you went through it with a different state of mind, a different nature towards it, a different way of feeling, it would have had a different experience. So that's the truth to our what we call change and transformation. The way we approach these experiences and the way we do it untrustworthy, which brings about suspicion because of the last experience. So I just wanted to put that in your ears. So let me continue real quick now, so we get an understanding. It said evil is involuntary, good is voluntary or of its own accord. Evil is involuntary or against its will. The God chooses good things as good things. Um, Time is a divine thing. Law is humane. Malice is the nourishment of the world. Time is a corruption of man. Now, it's important for you to understand that. I'm gonna take it from there where he said, time is a divine thing. Law is humane. Malice is the nourishment of the world. Time is the corruption of man. And that's what we do. You see, I tell you, when we in a timestamp, because you're in a mind that we call the Akashic records, this is how everybody could tune in. Certain instincts that you have in this side of the world, our indigenous people pick it up in all parts of the world because of this Akashic records. We share same dreams because of this Akashic records. We share same astral world because of this Akashic records. We share universal soul because of this Akashic records. It was there so that you could always go back to a timestamp and go see what happened yourself. Nobody have to tell you anything. If it's available to every human being if they knew how to meditate. I would send you to Rudolf Steiner to learn the philosophy of it and the techniques. Now, and understanding that time now when he says humane, when he goes from time being divine to time, the law is humane. It's us putting the law on time that makes it now time is a corruption of man. You understand? We put laws on it because we go in a straight line, but we make it cylindric instead of it making it linear by being habitual. It's your habitual cycle that makes it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this and that. What makes you say it's that? We repeat, if we repeat a day the same and repeat a year the same, it's our psychological state of keeping ourselves in order in the circadian rhythm that we pervert our time and corrupt our own self. But you know, to understand it, you would have to go more into the different zodiacs, the different months, the different beings that run the zodiac in reference to your different organs. Because you know, you have your knees belong to Capricorn, the bottom, your feet belong to Pisces. These have effects on you, and you will have to know when to be on this part of the it has more. Before I say that, it helps govern from business to relationships to your health. I'll just summarize it like that. It's best to know these things than to live on a linear, a cylindrical timeline that you don't know these things. So you will have more broader scope to live your life and to understand life more and be more spread out, not so, rush, 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 rush. All right. So to keep it going, whatsoever is in heaven is unaltered. All upon earth is alterable. So that's understandable. If you understand that, you know you can't go in the astral world and do nothing. He said, whatsoever is in heaven is unalterable. All upon earth is alterable. Nothing in heaven is servant. Nothing upon earth is free. Nothing unknown is heaven. Nothing known upon earth. So you got to understand, nothing in heaven is servant. Is servanted. So that's what you are as a being. You can't call yourself like a servant or saying you want to get a job and then doing this. Your thing is to redeem yourself, redemption. You need redemption and sovereignty to take the journey. But then you first have to clear your mind and programming from following what society say, which is like a meme now, or just your options just to survive. Sometimes you have to go through struggles and live without, homeless, no food, just to find yourself, to find who you are, not who your parents say who you are. And so those is the journey that they're talking about. And change and alterability is within those, but who you are as a soul, you can't alter that. But sometimes you might have to flick through yourself because you wear so many masks to find the true you. All right. So that's why it says nothing unknown in heaven, nothing known upon the earth. You know what I'm saying? The things upon earth can communicate not with those in heaven. And that's what's important for you to understand. This is written a long time ago. The things upon earth communicate not with those in heaven. All things in heaven are unblameable. All things upon earth are subject to reprehension. That which is immortal is not mortal. That which is mortal is not immortal. So you got two type of people here, two bodies in one. Just like you're male and female, and you see yourself as male, and a female see herself as a female. When you look at yourself from that perspective, you miss the whole picture. You lose the portal to go through here, and you're shooting over here, you're over here. You can't go through this unless you perceive what I'm saying, because it's a perception. Once you leave the body, don't mean you're gonna still think you're gonna know you're a hermaphrodite. You're gonna still think you're a female. You're gonna still think you're a male. You're gonna still hate the things you hate. You're gonna still envy the people you envy. All those is what you're here to drop now. When you go through with these are sheaths. As a shaman, you learn that a person go into your body not through like here, not here in your physical. They start going through your body about the distances of your arm length. Your body starts over there. That's where your real body is. What an angel at the head of it, also call your gatekeeper. But then you split up like many layers, like on a tree, how they could tell how old the tree is going to the center, got the core. Well, that's the same thing you are too, with these invisible sheep that's around you, call them Makaba or Vana, if you call it that actually holds all these. So as a shaman, you go into a person to change or take out a habit in them. Say if you wanted to stop smoking, you will go in there, and everything now being that it's energy, we are seeing holograms in our mind. Our mind could interpret energy and make it a picture and sound, put sound to it. Remember, color has sound and color and image. So now your mind could take all of that. I was just going closer into your aura and see which one is the one smoking. and see the demon or beast or creature that is in your personality that is doing that and extract it out of you. This is what's called a Sufi. A true Sufi mystic does that, and they get paid millions of dollars for that. Look at Oshu. Oshu was one, if you want to understand that. So once you understand, you have a sheath body that is like that, then you understand certain attachments you have to get out of. It's like you have to be the core, the consciousness. And that's what you're here to try to master, not too much attachments. But you still can't avoid your day-to-day life. This is mental. Let me give you a great example. You could be married, but you go home and you lay with your wife, y'all have sex, turn over, go to sleep. You go to sleep every night, y'all don't talk too much, you watch TV. You go to work, you have a secretary or your girlfriend, but you're a dude. But y'all laugh together. Y'all talk about everything together. Y'all talk about your life and her life together. But y'all go home and sleep with these two. This is an emotional relationship. This relationship is stronger than a physical sexual relationship. This is the real relationship. So the one over here is in emotional denial right now because she's not getting that. He's not getting that. That's already expressed at work with that. So they get the dead person over here. This one is excited, want to go back to work tomorrow to communicate with they. So you have emotional relationship that you can't see that makes a big difference. So when you understand that these things exist that could cause a difference, then you will start taking more look into a deeper detail of what things is going. All right. So now, that which is sown is not always begotten, but that which is begotten always is sown. Of a dissolvable body, there are two times, one for sowing to generation and one for generation to death. Of an everlasting body, the time is only from the generation. Dissolvable bodies are increased and diminished. Dissolvable matter is altered into contraries, to wit, to corruption and generation. But eternal matter into itself is and is like. The generation of man is corruption. The corruption is itself an offspring or begetteth by another. Of things that are, some are in bodies, some in their ideas. Whatsoever things belong to operating or working are in a body. That which is immortal partakes not of which is in a body. So I want you to understand these as I break these down. Because when we're talking about dissolvable bodies, and Jesus to the twice born, this is the most important part of this understanding from this Hermetic code you got to understand, because he's telling you alchemy before the 15th century by saying dissolvable body. Like I said, I'm going to bring this into the Philosopher's Stone. You will understand that you go through different stages of yourself, and this dissolving is of the mind, not the physical body. You dissolve in the mind. It's like if one time you first started out your journey to your quest for yourself, the first place you're going to stop is religion, Christianity. So you become a Christian first. And so that's a mind state. You believe that. And so after a while, not saying you don't believe in God and Jesus no more. You find that the church, the gossiping, the fake way that they kick the scapegoat at you and tell you you're no good, it's not for you. And so you decide to leave that frequency. But only reason you was able to leave it, it was some type of dissidence that had to enter to cause a belief in your own mind to glitch. Once the glitch comes, that's when you start gravitating to something else. Now you want to study Islam or spirituality, consciousness, maybe getting into yoga, meditation. So these that we're talking about is the glitch, was an alchemical change that took place. That's what we call in the transformation or the dissolving of the body. That's the dissolving of the body. The mind is the body. All right. So once we understand what dissolving of the body is, it's the changing of your whole mind, your belief. Then you understand you go through mad dissolving of yourself to become a new you. That's alchemy. That's like you was a child at one time, but now you're not a child. Where's that child that mom spent all that money into and clothes into? It's no longer there left. That's alchemy. All right, so let's keep it going. It said the generation of man is corruption. The corruption of man is the beginning of generation. Now, this is important to understand because we ourselves is self-righteous and believe that we have to be good. But you understand in the process of actually bringing creation into being, it's a violent process. And once you understand violence is involved, then you understand there is corruption. And you're not here to judge the corruption. Understand creation out of violence, this man, even getting to the point violence. And it gets the hair pulling, the choking. It's violence. But out of it come a beautiful child. Out of it come the greatest pleasure in the world. So when we're talking about the generation of man is corrupt, it's not that you're corrupt. It's corrupt as it's yin and yang. For good to be here, bad has to be here. Don't look at it in a way that you could change the corruption. Because if you change the corruption, you also take away the creation. You understand what I'm saying? For the creation to exist, the corruption had to do this. It's the same as saying, out of darkness came the light. Where did the, how come we didn't just say out of nothing came the light? It's out of darkness came the light. So out of something, always something. That's how it goes. You understand? So now when you look at the light, what are they? Opposites, right? Dark and light, opposite. So corruption, creation, they go together, and he's just telling you, accept it. It's a part of life. You understand what I'm saying? So once you do that, it's the beginning to new generations. And so with each generation that's created, you see like you get trap music. First it was rap music, then it turned to trap music now. So you see it's like each generation brings something new to the table that seem like corruption. But we just misinterpret it because we don't know what the universe is fully trying to put together yet. We only partaking and judging the immediate thing. It's like you being in a fight, a scrimmage, and you choose a side not knowing that you chose the side against who you decide you're on because you chose it too soon. You just saw something and you made a quick judgment. That's not how it works. So we have to be more able to say, what is they trying to tell me? What's the coincidences? What the universe is saying, more than to judge the situation. Oh, it's evil, it's bad. Because, it's a pull and a war between good and bad. But only one truth is the straight ahead path. So you try to see the straight ahead path, which is seeing both sides of a coin and know it's a whole coin. Don't look at the coin from just one side ever, because for every side there's another side to it. Once you understand that, then you will be able to surpass those things and see life for what it is. All right. So it says, of the things are, some are in bodies and some in their ideas. So when we talking some yes, yeah, Yoshira too. Glad to see you, and Chris Starr. Blessings. When we talk about whatsoever things belong, of things that are, some are in bodies and some their ideas. You got to understand, a lot of our ideas we get. Where did you get this idea from? When you start having these downloads, where you get the download from? It's a very important thing to know. You can't just have that's not possible. Nobody just have thought. Your cells is your thoughts. Every single cell, and you have trillions of cells, is those trillions of thoughts talking to you, and you could tune into them like a big cerebral program. But only ones you do tune into is what you're needed at that immediate time in your survival mode. Your survival mode is your immediate needs. So you only tune into the senses and thoughts of your immediate needs. If your immediate need changes, then you tune into different things. That's why you see some people, if you're in the hood, they off at that very age because they need money, they need food stamps, they do anything. But as they get jobs and all that, they change. They ain't off no more. All of a sudden they sit there and have checks, get a man and be like, yo, what is life about? What am I here for? And who put me here? These things come in when you leave survival mode. But in the beginning, you're just gonna do anything to get a dollar. To get your first thing is to get out your house and prove people wrong, prove that you can do it. So after you do all of that, is when you start really waking up to like, who am I? You understand? You're just paying everybody back. You're saying I could do good too, and all that more. Government make great money off of people like that. That's why if you ever notice the people fresh out the army, fresh out of high school, and fresh out of college. Everything is geared to new homes, cars, because y'all is dreamless, man. Then y'all stuck with bills later and all these credit card problems. When y'all could, instead of getting a house, living in it, you get a house and rent it out. You never dream to live in a house. If you get a house and you go live in it, how are you going to pay for the house? Why would you get a house and you have to pay for it? Who does that? Weren't you supposed to at least... All right, let me explain something to you. Let's get to this real quick, man. You got two things in this world, right? You know, you got liabilities and assets. You got to be careful with that. A house is a liability. You have to put money into it. And if you say, what's assets is what pay for your liabilities. So what are you? Your body is your asset. That means if you go get something, you have to go work for it. That's your asset. So now anything you go get, it's going to put you in debt by you having to use your body and your soul disassociate from you just to pay for that liability. So if you get a house, the smart thing would be stay home with your mother. Don't leave when you turn 17, 18, 19, 20. Stay there for a minute. Get your credit going. Get yourself a house and rent it out to them people who's fresh out of college or fresh out the army, and give it to them no money down. Let them pay your bank note, your mortgage, and probably you make $100 or $200 profit off of it. But that gets you going. Within a year, you could actually take out and get a second home. These two homes now, while you're living with your mother, is going to be able to make you get a home that they pay for your home. You live for free. That's how it's supposed to be. But when you're doing it the way I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go get a dream house and I'm gonna work for the rest of my life. No, you're being a servant, man. You get the picture now? Hustle in the right way. You gotta hustle right, think right. Birds do not go make a egg and then put it in a nest. They make a nest first and then they go make an egg. They make their house first, then go have the babies. We make babies and then go get a house. That's backwards. Think about it. Birds are smarter than us. They get their nest first. So that's how you got to do it if you want to get into that. So let's get back to this Corpus Hermetica real quick. All right. It says now, that which is immortal partakes not of that which is immortal. All right. That which is immortal partakes not of that which is mortal, I meant to say. All right. And that's easy to understand. You have an immortal side of you and you got a mortal side of you. The immortal side of you is your soul, your ethereal bodies and your astral body. Your mortal side of you is your physical flesh. Now, if your consciousness is stuck in your physical and you look at yourself from an external point of view and your body and everything, you're stuck. And then you become immortal. You die when your physical body dies. But to be immortal is to know that you have a soul in you that lives beyond the body. So the two cannot mingle. So that's why it says that which is immortal partakes not of that which is mortal. That which is mortal cometh not into a body immortal. You understand? So you're the physical mortal. You can't come into the soul. It's the other way around. But that which is immortal cometh into that which is mortal. So your soul comes into your body. You understand what I'm saying? That's what that means. It says operations of working are not carried upwards, but descend downwards. So remember that everything comes down. It doesn't go up. So operational works are not carried up. Anything you do, you can't take it. Everything descends down. That's why I said you go in. This to tell you now that when I tell you Agatha or the inner world, that's what it means when it tell you go down. It doesn't say anything about up, like we said heaven is up. It tell you down. It says things upon earth do nothing advantage those in heaven, but all things in heaven do profit and advantage the things upon earth. So from the Corpus Hermeticus, let's real quick define what's heaven so that we don't get a superficial understanding of what's going on. All right, what they mean by heaven, right, is simple. When you're talking about the ethereal world, when we talk about seeing energy, it's actually fractals. These fractals that look like mandalas, paisleys. These is actually a place. These is dimensions inside colors. And it's controlled mostly by the ethereal energy that flows throughout the Van Allen belt, the universe. It flows through us too. And so by you opening your chakras, these nadis, that's what catches this ethereal energy and make your light being able to leave your body and float out upon this ethereal energy. But in the ethereal energy itself, it's bands of magnetics, really. So it's a bandwidth of magnetic field, just like how radio stations, cell phones, they travel through the air. How? Through magnetic fields that keep the integrity of their sound, music, and everything in place till it get to its receiver. So this same bandwidth is what we call heaven, and there is a subatomic world that exists in every aspect and possibilities of your mind is. Once you understand that, then you understand what heaven is, and it's a real thing. All right, so I'm giving it to you in the simplest detail. All right, heaven is capable and receptacle of everlasting bodies, the earth of corruptible bodies. The earth is brutish, the heaven is reasonable or rational. Those things that are in heaven subject or placed under it, but the things on earth are placed upon it. Heaven is the first element, providence is divine order. Necessity is the minister of servant of providence. Fortune is the carriage of effect that which is without order. The idol of operation, the lion fantasy or operation. So here they're just breaking down, telling you the importance of seeing how heaven came first and its divine order over the physical world, and for us to look more towards the other than the physical. Hello from Guam. Thanks for tuning in, Sandra. So what is man? An unchangeable evil. You know, this is what it says itself. So once you understand that, you understand. I'm gonna make that big so you can see it. This is in Corpus Hermetica. It says, "What is man? An unchangeable evil." Now, all right. This is what makes this interesting. Why would somebody say that? What is the point? And is it just religious, to make you feel psychologically bad about yourself? No, it's not. Let me tell you why. This is the truth. We ourselves like to hide who we truly are, our motive, what we're going to do. Peace and blessings, Latora. Thanks for tuning in. Now, we hide our true motive and who we are. Let's take, for instance, the basic. Mom. Mom. Before you had kids, you was probably Victoria, a little hottie. Thing, go out to the clubs and drink. All of a sudden you have kids and your mom. And so living with your mom, you get this image of a soccer mother and somebody who is just, like a logo or a role model. With this now, it takes away from the person who was an individual, and they feel that they have to play this role of this mom. And so we get a lot of kids who imprison their parent to be this mom, dad. And so they hide and do things on the side, or they do things in secrecy, two-sided to them, you could say. This two-sided now become unconscious in them and it become their own demon. So being mom or dad is not a true thing. And you don't want your kids to see you as that, because they're not seeing Kathy or Joe or whoever your name is. They need to see you for who you are, can help you. How could they help you if they see you as the superhero? They're playing the hero role in your household when you're not the hero. So this has a very serious meaning to it, so you have an understanding of what they're saying. By meaning evil, you're talking about not being true to who you are. Somebody be like, yo, you're great. You like, yes, I am. Yeah, I'm great. And every time now, you have to do great things, even though you know you can't do great things. So sometimes just being real, you have to understand these things. It's knowing your limitations. So when you're saying man is what is man, unchangeable evil, it's for you to realize you in the physical. You need sex. You need food. You need shelter. You're going to be subject to temptations and things, mistakes. Summarizes mistakes. With making mistakes is how you learn. Remember, the corruption bring about creation. So always expect mistake to be the part that you learn something. And so with it now, It's like what we become from this actual mistake. Do we mask it or do we change to configure ourselves to not make that mistake again? You understand? This is the difference. And so when we it does make sense because a lot of people know they have an overweight issue, but they still eat, but they just become very humorous, a funny motherfucker that you don't pay attention to eat disorder. And this like so they cover their own insecurities with other shit. Some people get a lot of jewelry and house and money, big car, but they fucked up inside. That's when we're talking about it going to evil. But the things we see, if you offend somebody and you could sense the energy they're offended, and you configure yourself to make it that you don't offend them, that's the when it don't become evil. But most people, when they see they're offended, use it up and they keep doing it, or they're not conscious that they even offend anybody. And so you got to understand the demographics of where this is going when they put it in those terms. And understand the honesty in yourself will configure you to not make any situation turn evil. But in a normal human being, they tend to take it and use it as a form of leverage or to become their new characteristic, to get even more attention, to get love, to be accepted in society. Everybody want to be accepted. And so they'll do whatever they have to do. All right. If thou perfectly remember these heads, thou cannot get thou canst not forget those things which in more words. I have largely expounded upon thee, for these is the contents of abridgment of them. Avoid all conversation with the multitude or of common people, for I would not have the subject to envy, much less be ridiculed unto the many. Now you see, if this is the Corpus Hermeticus and they're telling you to avoid all conversations with the multitude or common people, he put the apostrophe right there. It's the same like me telling you to go into isolation, go separate yourself so you could tell the truth. It's a real statement. It's in that song by the Black Horseman that I did. But that is what you're supposed to do. It's not about you socializing. It's not about you realizing that you have to have your boyfriend and your kids and your wife. You was born by yourself. You don't die by yourself. You acting like teddy bears. Those are teddy bears. Why? Ask the question, why was you born by yourself and why are you going to die by yourself? Then you realize that your deity, you was called more of a demigod, a possible God, a demigod, a deity. You have to be able to stand by yourself, do everything by yourself. You're not a man, you're not a woman. There's no weakness in you. Anyway, a woman's nature is more aggressive than a man. You understand what I'm saying? Once you understand that, then you understand who you are. You know, man is really a feminine ass thing. It's hard for a man not to be. It's hard for a man to be a man. In his natural state, he acts feminine. You understand? And a woman, in her natural state, she acts masculine. That's what a woman is. It was always that way, but we misinterpret what it meant. But we taught to act different than what our nature is. So, anyways, let me keep it going. He said, "Thus, O son, the whole nature and composition of those living things called man is very prone to maliciousness and very familiar, and is where nourished with it, and therefore it is delighted with it now that the white, if it shall come to learn of what it is, that the world was once made and all things are done according to providence and necessity, destiny or fate, bearing rule over all, will not be much worse than itself, despite in the whole, because it is what we were made of." So, like we said, if it be a necessity that we living from, that's what we actually tune into as far as our thoughts, our frequency, then you understand as your necessities change and as you free yourself up, you get into a higher level of yourself. Each time there's a higher level of yourself, but you have to be able to go through what we call the tower. um, this is when you actually have changes. You see number 11 sometimes to bring about changes in your life. And so you have tower moments where you have to destroy everything and just abandon everything to start all over. And so by you going through these build the God up in you, you know. Now, real quick, I want to go and make you understand. There's the second part, the book called Pymander, where Hermes talks to a dragon. And this is now the important aspect that you have to understand, that this is before, this creation part that we're living in now, that the Atlanteans and all them had it, that they talk to dragons. And so Hermes being the one, he says he goes into meditation, and then he goes and he meets the mind. This mind is what's called the dragon. So I want you to understand now, when we talking about the mind of God, the God thing, how it actually worked, that he's considered the mind. The mind is the dragon. When you're going through the portals, and I say you travel through the dragon, or you see the Egyptian with the staff and they stabbing the dragon or the serpent, you're in the mind. That symbolizes the mind in alchemy. You know what I'm saying? And the staff would symbolize you in concentrated thought, or the eye. It's all the same thing. So now, and you put this into wording. Um, Let me see how I could pick it up from where he's pick it up. Um, he says, "My thoughts being once seriously bruised about the things they are, and my understanding lifted up, and all my body senses being exceedingly holding back, as it is with them that are very heavily of sleep, but reason either or fullness of meat or of body labor." Now you got to see, in us, these are the reasons why we can't astral project or get to see these higher beings. I'm gonna start it over and read it slow for everybody to understand. He said, "My thoughts being once seriously bruised about the things that are." So he's kind of confusing thoughts. And he says, "That are, and my understanding lifted up." So now he's leaving himself. It's like he's going into meditation. He said, "All my bodily senses being exceedingly holding back." So he can't feel no more. It's like he's actually leaving his body. As it is with them that are very heavy or of sleep. So he feels like he's heavy, he's falling asleep. That's what it says, as with them that are very heavy or falling asleep. He says, but he says, like those by reason either or of being fullness or of meat or of bodily labor. So he gives you a great example of why you can't astral project, why you can't see into those worlds. He said, for reason either of fullness of meat, not fullness alone. He said fullness of meat or bodily labor. So you're tired. Most of the time, for you to astral project, for you to meditate, like see the dragon, you can't be half sleepy, half awake. You can't have nothing on your mind. You have to have those blockages cleared up. Get enough rest that when you can sit for 45 minutes in darkness of your own eyes and don't fall asleep. You have to be able to do that. So in doing so, you you see that not just in eating meat, which actually make you more tired and slow you down, but actually in your daily working, sometimes your activities, even if you don't do physical labor, giving yourself too much. You give out your soul so much, it just tire you out. You run out of energy. So giving yourself can burn you out. So he says, me thought I saw one of the exceedingly great stature and infinite greatness call me by my name and say unto me, what wouldst thou hear and see, or what would thou understand to learn and know? Then said I, who art thou? And I quote he, Pymander, the mind of the great Lord, the most mighty and absolute emperor. I have what thou wouldst have, and I'm always presented with thee, and I'm always present with thee. So you get to understand a few things here. That one, he's the mind of the Lord. So when you see the dragon, it's not something coming to eat you. He's not your enemy. And when you see the dragon, that means you're in the mind. I always tell you, we're in a dragon. We're inside of the dragon. So now you understand, you're inside God's mind. What you think is what it reflects. It's a hologram. The dragon is a hologram. I'm not teaching you something that is superficial. Look it up. This is a holographic universe. They're not going to tell you these from studying these ancient texts, but when you look at what science is saying and what these are saying, they align perfectly. You understand? But I like to translate it from here because from my experiences, this is what I see. All right, so now he says, um, Pymander, the great, he said, the mind of the great Lord, the most mighty and absolute emperor. I know what thou wouldst have, and I am always present with thee. So you see something that's always with you. Then said I learned the things that art and understand the nature of them and know God. How? Said he. I answered that I would gladly hear. Then he have me against in my mind, and whatsoever thou would learn, I will teach thee. When he had thus said, he was changing in his ideas or form, and straightway in the twinkling of an eye, all things were opened unto me, and I saw an infinite sight. All things were becoming of light, both sweet and exceedingly pleasant, and I was wonderfully delighted in beholding it. But after a little while, there was a darkness, made in part, coming down obliquely, fearfully and hideous, which seemed unto me to be changed into a captain moist nature, unspeakable troubled, which yield a smoke as from fire, and from whence proceeding a voice unutterably and very mournful, but inarticulate, in so much that it seemed to have come from the light. Wow. You understand what's going on here. Something that was beautiful turned ugly to him, right? And I want you to understand that this is what we're talking about when we're talking about God, when we're talking about the higher world. It's not what you think in your mind. And this is what the high priest or the higher beings or the high initiates know that they use against you because they know the truth. And you only see it from the European perspective, how they draw angels, how they doing it. To say angels as creatures will be wrong to tell you that, but angels as creatures more than they say that they look like any European or anybody, because they was here before the mutation of human being. So if you're saying angels look like how we look like, what was angels when we was actually hominoids? What was angels when people was Neanderthals? Did they look like Neanderthals too? How, think about it. What about when people was just in the sea? Did angels look like dolphins? So we have a thing where we put these in our head and actually want to see this instead of the truth. Truth is angels as creatures. They was here before us, species. You see them as gargoyles on top of buildings. Get the Codex Invictus, the first versions of the translation of the Septuagint and those books when they put pictures in them. You're not going to see no beautiful angels. You're going to see creatures. So once you realize it's the same Sanskrit as the Devis, how they show the Devis, how they show it on the walls. So once you understand that, you will align yourself and not will things or thought forms into the true astral because it don't go. It won't go. It keep you on the lower desire level of it. This is the truth. That's why the Egyptians show you those pictures. That's why the Babylonians do those statues, artifacts. Look at artifacts, not some Egyptian pictures that's fake off the internet. You need to see real artifacts and study them, what was going on. Then you get a picture of everything alive, what the Hermetic book is saying. So for you now, let's run this part over again so you get it in slow-mo and understand this, because this will change your belief and open your perception to reality and the truth and to magic now. So he says, when he had thus said, he was changing his idea or form, and straightway in the twinkling of an eye, all that was opened onto me, and I saw an infinite sight. So now he's in the astral or the higher worlds, and all things became light. So you see, it went from his ignorance to light, both sweet and exceedingly pleasant. He's seeing everything beautiful, and I was wonderfully delighted in the behold of it. So we love the light, right? This is why we call it we escape from our true darkness where we come from. But now listen what he says. But after a little while, there was a darkness made in part, coming down obliquely, fearful and hideous, which seemed unto me to be changed into a certain moist nature, unspeakably troubled, which I yield a smoke as from fire, and from whence proceeding a voice unutterably and very mournful and inaccurately, and so that it seemed to have come from the light. Then from the light a certain holy word joined itself on nature and flew the pure and unmixed fire from the moist nature. Upward on high, it exceedingly light and sharp and overtive withal. And the air, which was also light, followed the spirit and mounted up to the fire from the earth and the water, inasmuch that it seemed to hang and depend upon it. Now, I want you to understand, in the biblical sense, because I study all scriptures, Sanskrit, everybody's scriptures, Chinese scriptures, but when you read them, they all say the same thing. Like every movie you watch is the same thing. Shoot 'em up, karate, all of them say, every Netflix movie say the same thing, the same story that I'm telling. So now, when you understand this, you will see that the darkness is not what we think. You understand? It is God. Like when they say, He said, "I'm gonna come like a thief in the night," and it's with the light. So you see, the Satan and God thing is one thing. He just broke it down to you. With the beauty came this other hideous thing, and you could say the hideous thing was the sound. Whatever you want to equate it to, is part of one unit. You must understand this. So you can't choose one. It's the same. So let me take it from them. Then from the light, a certain holy join itself onto nature. And you see how it takes to nature. That's whoever it's with. Always nature's where it go. And on to through the pure and unmixed fire from the moist. And so when he tells you, the one that come after me baptizes in fire, you understand that's your pureness. When you look up the golden age and you read the Ovid, those books that talk about Zeus and Jupiter and all them coming, you hear the golden age was when they was in the sun and fire. That was perfect. It's not like we think that it's some big castles and everything and Atlantis. No, the golden age, we stood in the sun. That's when man was still in the sun, one with it. And so we're from fire, we're fire being. And that's where you go back to. So if you understand that there is no hell and no hellfire because you come from the fire. That's why you see the Egyptians have their hands over the sun. Go back into the sun. You're going back into fire. You're reading this light is fire. So you pure in fire. You can't burn in fire. You are fire. Think about it. Look up plasma if you don't believe what's inside your DNA is a tube. When you look at it from the top point of your DNA, this formed the flower of life, the pattern of the DNA, but inside is a fire of plasma. That's your consciousness. And it floats through this and go all through the universe. Everything that is considered matter at its broken down stage is like a fiber optic cable that your consciousness travel through. That's what's going on. So now let's get back to this. He says, then delight at a certain holy word join unto itself nature and out flew the pure and unmixed fire from the moist nature upward on high. It exceedingly light and sharp and over to the fall, and air, which was also light, followed the spirit and mounted up to the fire from the earth and the water, and so that it seemed to hang and depend upon it. Now remember, from the pure fire, moisture is where life began, and moisture is where the earth got fermented, and moisture, bacteria came into being. So you're taking something dry, which is spirit, cold, which is spirit, and then you putting the fire to it, which is us, the God, the sun. And when you mix the two, you get humidity and moisture. Where life is in humidity and moisture. The cold, which is over here, winter dead of winter and summer is over here. Two different things. This is the fire where you come from. This is the moon. This is what is needed. Together they give us life. All right. Now, where am I? All right. And the earth and the waters stayed by themselves, so mingled together that the earth could not be seen for the water, but they moved because of the spiritual world, the spiritual word that was carried upon them. So this spiritual word that they're talking about is what we call the logos, this hologram that's locked into everything. This hologram that make fractal is everything. It's in it, and it makes everything can't change. So that's why they're trying to break the genetic code, read it. They thought they had it, but they ain't even close. You understand? So that's what this word is. It's the code that make waves on ripples in water, make form, have shape, make a tree become from a seed to an oak. You understand? It's the genetic formula in it. All right. and that works off of vibrations. So I want you to understand now. Then said Pymander unto me, thou understand this vision and what is meant meaneth. I shall know, said I. Then he said, I am the light, the mind, the God, thy God, who I am before thy moist nature that appeareth on the darkness, and that the bright lightful word from the mind is the Son of God. You see, so when we talking all that about, Jesus being the Son of God and everything, right here tells you, then he said, I am the light, the mind, thy God, who am before that moist nature that appeareth out of darkness, and that bring and lightful word from the minds is the Son of God. So you get to understand the light itself is supposed to be the sun, and the darkness is God itself. The dweller in the darkness is how Thoth called. He didn't want to call him anything but the dweller in the darkness. So once you understand these things, the light is you when you see it and you understand it, which is the highest form of yourself, which is the God self. So he says, how is this? He says, thus replied he, understand it, that which is thee seeth and heareth, the word of the Lord in the mind of the Father God differeth, not one from the other, and the unison of this is life. Trismegistus, I thank thee. Pymander, but first conceive well the light in thy mind and know it. When he had thus said for a long time, me looked steadfast on one unto the other, as much as I trembled, and as the idea of form came. But when he nodded to me, I beheld in my mind the light that is innumerable and the truly infinite ornament of world, and that the fire is comprehended or contained in by as most greater power and constrained to keep its sensation. So this light we're talking about, these orbs that you see and flying around, that's the light he's talking about. And he sees it in his meditation. And from there, it takes him into these many different worlds. So you got to understand the dragon Pymander, how it actually plays a role out on you. Now, I want to read this last page before I move on to something that I wanted to bring up. He says, and therefore, being above all harmony, he is made and became a servant. You know what? It's only one page. Okay, here you go. This is what I want to bring up. I'm going to read it from here. These things I understand, seeing the word of Pymander, and when I was mighty amazed, he said again unto me, hast thou seen in the mind the archetypal form? Wait a minute. Yeah. The archetypal form, which was before the intermated. I know. I need y'all to understand this archetypal form. All right. Let's see. Okay. When he had thus said for a long time, we looked steadfast one upon the other, and so that I trembled in his idea or form. But when he nodded to me, I beheld in my mind a light that is innumerable, and that truly indefinite ornament or word, and that the fire is comprehended or contained in or by a most great power and constrained to keep its station. These things I understand, seeing the word of Pymander, and when I was mightily amazed, he said again unto me, haste thou, seeing thy mind that archetype form. You see, this archetype form is what C.J. Jung or Carl Jung started to map out in your mind. You have everything in your mind already prior, and everything you're seeing, these is archetypes or symbols. Let's call them the lost symbols, which was before the intimated and infinite beginning. So he's telling you have it all in your subconscious. You just got to tap into it. And so that's what he means by that. Now, he says, but whence quote I, or whereof are the elements of nature made, out of which the will and counsel of God which take the word, and beholding the beautiful word in the archetype thereof. So everything is in the archetype, is held inside the word, initiated it and made it so that the world, by the principles and the vital seeds or soul like productions of itself. So whatever is in the seed is who you are. Everything is what you are from what it is. So he goes on to say, for the mind being God, male and female, life and light, brought forth by his word another mind, the workman, which being God of fire and spirit fashioned and formed seven other governors, which in their circles contain the sensible world, whose government of disposition is called the fate or destiny. Straightway leaped or excelled itself in the downward born elements of God, the word of God, into the clean and impure worship of nature, and was united to the workman mind. For the constable and its downward born elements of nature were left without reason, that they might be the only matter. But the workman mind, together with the word containing the circles and whirling them around, turned round as a wheel his own workmanship, and suffered them to be turned from an infinite beginning to an undetainable end. For that is always being where they are, where they end. So it's saying that our mind perceived everything and we perverted it into our own perception. Um, Also, this goes on to tell you that we're not man or woman, we're both. And for us to understand the mind of the Most High, you got to be able to understand what I'm saying right there and balance yourself out. And, I'm not no type of funny person, but if you don't understand these and you're trying to see the higher worlds, if you're trying to ascend, if you're trying to get out of here, you must be able to understand it. And I'm going to read the last line from it before I change the subject up now. This is where he brings it up. He says, then said Pymander, this is the mystery that is today is hidden and kept secret, for nature being mingled with man brought forth a wonder most wonderful, for he have the nature of the harmony of the seven, from whom I told thee, the fire and the spirit. Nature continued not, but brought forth seven men, all males and female, and sublime or on high, according to nature of the seven governors. And after these things, O Pymander, quoth, I knew came into a great desire and longing to hear, do not digress or run out. Be he said, keep silence, for I have not yet finished the first speech. Trismegistus, behold, I am silent. Pymander, the generation therefore of the seven was after this manner, the air being feminine, and the water disastrous or corpulation, took from the fire its ripeness, and from the ether spirit, and so nature produced bodies after the species and shapen of men. And man was made of life and light into soul and mind, of life and soul, of light and mind. So we both soul, light, and mind. And so all the members of the sensible world continued until the period of the end, bearing rule and generating. Hear now the rest of the speech, so that you desire to hear. When that period was fulfilled, the bond of all things was loosened and united, untied by the will of God, for all living creatures being hermaphroditical. Remember that he said, for all living creatures being hermaphroditical, or male and female, were loosed and untied together with man, and so that males were apart by themselves, and females also was apart by themselves. So give you a reason that at one time we was one. We was all the same. But then they loosened it up and made us two separate beings. And once we separated, that's when we lost our immortality and we was at a disassociation. Let me continue reading. And the straightway God said to the Holy Word, increase and increase. Hold on, let me back it up so you hear that again. That's 37. He says, when that period was fulfilled, the bond of all things was loosened and untied by the will of God, for all living creatures, being hermaphroditical, or male and female, were loosened and untied together with man, and so the males were apart by themselves, and the female likewise. And straightway God said to the Holy Word, increase and increase, and multiply and multitude all you are my creatures and workmanship, and let him that is endued with the mind know himself to be immortal, and that the cause of death is the love of the body, and let him learn all the things that are. So you see, those with the mind is immortal. It's the mind that survived because you become the dragon, which you are. If you was to see yourself through the mirror and could see yourself on the other side, you wouldn't be looking at a human being. It would be like a dragon stuck his face through the mirror. That's the truth, a dinosaur. And so that's your true self, which is the mind. And you will always be the mind. Or if you don't know you're the mind, you're just going to go think you're the body. And that's what he explained in this ancient writing that we're going over, which is Hermeticism. And so you get to understand these is what became Kabbalahism, all the other isms that you follow now, including your Christianityism. You understand? These ain't different books. And it's not like it's a version of Christianity. They took the same thing, and put it all over the world. So once you get the idea now, it's easy to understand. All of them say the same thing. All right, now to summarize this part that he's trying to say, and he says now, when he had thus said, providence by fate and harmony made the mixtures and established the generations, and all things were multiplied according to their kind, and that he knew himself came a length to the superessential of every way substantially good. But he that thought the error of love, loved the body, abideth wandering in darkness, sensible suffering, the things of death. So you see, it's still from Hermetic time talking about love the body, abideth wandering in darkness, sensible suffering, to the things of death. Trismegistus, but why do they that are ignorant sin so? They are, that they should therefore be deprived of immortality. Thou see Thou seemest not to have understand what thou hast heard. He says, Trismegistus, pre-evidence I seem to see to thee, but I both understand and remember them. Pymander, I am glad for the sake if thou understand them. Tell me, why are they worthy of death than are in death? He said, because they go in a sad and dismental darkness before its body, for which darkness is the moist nature, of which moist nature the body consists in the sensible world. For whence death is deprived, hast thou understand this, all right? Now I'm going to read it again slow and make sense of it. Because there goeth a sad and dismental darkness before its body. So it's telling you, like, when you look outside yourself, you see yourself with a body, only sadness and suffering is going to come to be, of which darkness is the moist nature. That's what I mean. You're only going to see things from a bad point of view, of which moist nature the body consisteth in the sensible world. And your body's already moist, from whence death is derived. So from you actually not crystallizing yourself and being moist, acidic, not alkaline, you face death, disease, sicknesses. So this is what our problem is. We don't understand. By disciplining ourselves, we increase our actual DNA activation, our perception, and turn on the things that keep our body from this so-called moisture, which is lack of antioxidants, being light. It doesn't mean to be having muscles. It means to actually use your mind as your strength. Get into Qigong to understand it, and actually seek a higher self than to go through life being insecure. People work out and lift weights because they're insecure, they're scared. It's not because you want to look good for a woman. If you seek a woman or a man because of your body, when you don't have that body no more, they're going to leave you. And that man, you gave him a body, and he's going to see that in every woman now. That's the type of woman he's going to see. He's not going to see you because you gave him a body. You didn't give him you. You understand? You gave him a fetish. That's why you see certain people like fat ass. Some people like titties. Everybody, women have titties, but it's certain titties that's a fetish to certain people. Certain men's ass and penis size is a fetish to women. So they don't love your penis size or your ass. They love all men's penis that's that size and ass or form that look like this or have that. So when you dealing with the body, remember, you're not selling yourself. You're not giving yourself. You're giving an image that's replaceable by any other image that's suitable, that looks like you. So you want to be more than a physical image. You want them to see your soul. You understand? Once they can see your soul, you awaken them. You cause their perception and DNA to change. And by doing that, you set off a chain reaction and synchronicity by changing the way we think, the way society is. You change everything in our matrix. It's one thought that actually makes it. One is the one that let all the other light go off. So it's important for you to understand that when we do that. All right, let's look at these questions now and just end this off. Like, damn, you said it like a dinosaur. This thing breathing smoke and fire. Wish I could post it here. Go ahead, post, man. But it's more about understanding. Once you understand that what you are and how you work, then everything else will be good. You know, I was looking at this too. You know, this is who we are. If you don't understand, we're more like the universe, like how the universe and how an atom is, like how you see it aligned there. That's how you are in your Merkaba. With the different spheres, like I tell you, the different bodies is these elements spinning around. That's your sheath bodies. And those sheath bodies is like more like these. So you got different sheath bodies floating around you and you don't see it, but it's there. These is what's called your Merkaba. And so once you understand what's your Merkaba and how it works, you know, let me see. I'm gonna read a little bit so you can understand. This is from The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. This is a good book, you know, and for you to understand that it says prana is more critical to our survival than air, water, food, or any other substance, and that the manner in which we take this energy into our bodies radically affect how we perceive this reality. In Atlantean times and the way we breathe prana was directly related to electromagnetic energy fields that surrounded our bodies. All the energy from our fields are geometrics, and one will be working with is a star tetrahedron, which consists of two interlocking tetrahedrons. Another way of thinking of it is a three-dimensional Star of David. The apex of the upward pointing tetrahedron terminates one hand's length about the head, and the apex of the downward pointing tetrahedron terminates one head length down below the feet. A connecting tube runs from the upper apex to the lower point through the body main energy centers of chakras. This tube of your body has the diameter of the circle you make when you touch your tongue, your longest finger to your thumb. It looks like a glass fluorescent tube, except it has a crystalline structure at the end that fits into the two apex of the star tetrahedron. Before the fall of Atlantis, we used to bring prana simultaneously up and down this tube, and the two prana flows would meet inside one of our chakras. Specifically, how and where the prana meets, that has always been an important aspect of this ancient science, which today is still being studied through the universe. Another point is the human body is the pineal gland, located almost in the center of the head, which is a huge factor in consciousness. This gland has degenerated from its original size, compatible to a ping pong ball, to its present, that of a dried pea, because we forgot how to use it a long time ago. And if we don't use it, you lose it. Prana energy used to flow through the center of the pineal gland. This gland, according to Jacob Limman, author of Light, the Medicine of the Future, looks like an eye. In some respect, it's literally an eyeball. It's round and has an opening on one portion, and at the opening is a lens of focusing light. It's hollow and a color receptor inside the primary field of view, though it has not been determined scientifically, is upward towards the heaven, just as our eye that can look up to 90 degrees to the side from the direction of thy face. The pineal gland can also look as much as 90 degrees away from its set direction. Just as we cannot look out the back of our heads, the pineal gland cannot look down towards the earth. So your pineal gland sees up here, you see up. Even though you think you're looking this way, it's here, it don't see this way. It sees this way. Nobody knows that. That's what's bugged out. They be thinking they see him through here. When you look through your pineal, you look in this. But like, have you ever looked and see through your pineal, or you can see in a hologram? You can see a hologram. You wave your hand over here, and you can see your hand moving like this over here. You go like this. That's how you know that. Well, you know, there's so much more. I wanted to tell you about the macabre real quick. Let me just give you this macabre part. There's another major factor that we're going to focus on in the story. The 13,000 years ago, when we were aware of something about ourselves that we since completely forgotten, the geometric energy fields around our bodies can be turned on in a particular area, which is also connected to our breath. These fields used to spin at close to the speed of light around our bodies, but they slow down and stop spinning after the fall. When this field is turned back on and spins, it's called a macabre, and its usefulness is, in this reality is unparalleled. It gives us an expanded awareness of who we are, connects us to the higher levels of consciousness, and restores the memory of the infinite possibilities of our being. A healthy spinning macabre is 50 to 60 feet in diameter, proportionate to one's height. The rotation of a spinning macabre can be displayed on a computer monitor using the appropriate instrument, and it also appears as appearance is identical with the infrared heat envelope of the galaxy, the same basic shape as the traditional flying saucer. So this is where you get your flying saucers from. Now listen to what it says. The word macabre is made up of the three small words mer, ka, and ba, which was once used and came from the ancient Egyptian. It is seen in all other cultures as macabre, spelled different ways to macabre. There are several pronunciations, but generally you pronounce it as if the three syllables are separate with equal accent on each. Myrrh refers to a specific kind of light that was understood in Egypt only during the 13,000 years ago when we were, hold on, when they were the 18th dynasty. It was seen as two counter-rotating fields of light spinning in the same space, which are generated by certain breathing patterns. Ka refers to the individual spirit, and Ba refers to the spirit interpretation of particular realities in our particular reality. Ba is usually defined as the body of physical reality. In other realities where spirits don't have bodies, it's referred to their concept of interpretation of the reality that bring them with them. So, um, just so you understand that these things exist, this uh, the Ancient Flower of Life, Volume 1. I give you the basics of all those stuff for what your body can do, which is mysticism. It ain't something that is a good read book. Don't think. It's instructions, spiritual instructions that, if you want to learn how to do it and why these things happen, you got to pick up the knowledge, get the gnosis of these type of subtle body things you have and how to use them. They're tools. So once you understand that, you're on your way. Um, this is information to help you about yourself. When I say one mind, understanding this is taking yourself from the story of this and that and thinking you're this and this. Stop thinking. Just do. It'll come to you. You understand what I'm saying? That's the trick to this. Just stop thinking and be. Start being now. You're a being. Show it by. You don't have to read. Just be. When you do read, read to confirm an experience you're having. Don't read to be like something. Don't research and study to be like something. You already is who you are. You just have to learn yourself. All right? All right, y'all. On that note, I'm out of here. University of Conscious Science. One love. Thank y'all for tuning in.